inspired by true events. This story shook me deeply because no one deserves such pain. There was a truth shining in the darkness, but no one wanted to see it. Our story began with hope, but ended with tears. Sometimes people don't love you, they love the peace you offer them. This story shows how fragile the word trust is. We'll tell you today is one with many lessons to learn. It illustrates how those around us change when we achieve something. Now, without giving away any more details or spoiling the story's excitement, let's get into it. What should have been the happiest day of my life was also the day my heart was shattered. I'd won $50 million in gambling, and all I wanted to do was grab my 3-year-old daughter, Ivy, and run to tell my husband, Damien, the news. But when I reached his office door, the voices I heard shattered my entire world. My name is Sienna Mitchell. If anyone had asked me about my life before that morning, I would have said regular, maybe even a little boring. Damien Bryant was the operations manager of a mid-sized logistics company. He was my college sweetheart. We had been married for 7 years and Ivy. We had a 3-year-old daughter named Rose. She was my everything. The inside of my eyes, my breath. Ivy was born. I quit my job. I devoted myself completely to her, to the house, to supporting Damien's career. I'd wake up at 6 a.m., make Damien's breakfast, pack his lunchbox, make sure his shirts were ironed. While he was at work, I'd play with Ivy, clean the house, cook, and try to balance the budget. Damien worked hard. At least, that's what he told me. He stayed late at the office, even on weekends, attending client meetings. I never complained. I told myself, he works for us. He fights for his family. Sometimes, he'd get frustrated with himself and snap at me, but I'd just let it slide. Every marriage has its ups and downs, right? Our savings were practically non-existent. Damien said the company was expanding and every penny was being reinvested. I trusted him blindly. I never questioned him. He was my husband, Ivy's father. He wouldn't lie to me. That Wednesday, autumn rain was falling gently in Portland, Oregon. Like every morning, I made Ivy breakfast and turned on a cartoon. As I walked around the house, I noticed the lottery ticket I'd hastily slipped into my bag on my way home from shopping yesterday. It was magnetically attached to the refrigerator door. I hadn't actually wanted to buy that ticket. While in line at a 7-Eleven, an old woman turned to me and smiled. Honey, I'm feeling lucky today. You buy a ticket too. Maybe our fates will change. I handed over $5 just to be polite and quickly selected random numbers. Ivy's birthday, mine, our anniversary, Damien's. I laugh now when I think about it. I pulled out my phone and jokingly went to the official website. The results of yesterday's drawing were there. 7, 14, 23, 31, 42, and mega number 9. My hands started shaking. I looked at the 7. The first number on my ticket was 7. Then 14. My heart started beating wildly. 23, 31, 42, and mega number 9. I matched them all. Every single one. $50 million. My knees buckled. I sat on the cold kitchen floor, my phone slipping from my hands. My head was spinning. This couldn't be real. Just a housewife taking care of her child all day, clipping grocery coupons, had won $50 million. I felt a surge of joy rise from my chest. I started to cry. Happiness? Shock? Maybe both. Ivy's life would change. She'd go to the best schools, have everything she ever wanted. Damien wouldn't have to work so hard anymore. We could pay off all the company debts. We could even buy a house. A real house with a garden, a white picket fence, our dream house. We would be happy. We would finally be happy. I don't know what I would have done at that moment. I couldn't wait a second. I had to tell Damien right away. I grabbed my bag, carefully put the ticket in the inside pocket, and scooped Ivy into my arms. Ivy, baby, let's go see your daddy. Mommy has a really big surprise for him. My daughter looked at me with surprised eyes, but she smiled. An Uber. My heart was beating like a drum in my chest. It felt like the whole world was smiling at me. I'm Sienna Mitchell, an ordinary housewife, was worth $50 million. Our life, our family's life, was now beginning a brand new chapter. I squeezed Ivy's tiny hand and whispered, Ivy baby, Our life has changed. The car is located in the northwest part of Damien's company. He stood in front of his office building in the industrial park in Portland. He was his dream, my pride. I'd spent nights with him as the company was being built, helping him organize his Excel spreadsheets. I'd tied his tie when he went to his first client meeting. I held Ivy in my arms, breathless with excitement. The receptionist, Harper, a young woman, smiled when she saw me. "Good morning, Miss Mitchell. Are you here to see Mr. Bryant?" I tried to keep my voice calm, but I couldn't hide my excitement. "Yes, I have great news for him." "Is he in his office?" Harper hesitated for a moment. "Yes, but he seems to be seeing someone inside. Should I tell him?" "No, you don't have to," I said, waving my hand. "I want to surprise you. Don't worry." Harper shrugged and turned back to her computer. I walked down the hallway, Ivy sitting obediently on my lap. Damien's office door was half open. I was about to reach out and knock when a voice from inside stopped me. It was a woman's laugh. A seductive, sincere, low laugh. "Come on, Damien, seriously? Are you really going to do this?" The voice sounded familiar, but I couldn't quite place it. Then I heard Damien's voice. I'd known him for 7 years, but this voice was different. Soft, almost sensual. "Why are you acting in such a hurry, honey? I need to sort out the situation at home. Let me make things right with Sienna, then I'll file for divorce. No one will suspect." The world spun. My legs gave out. Ivy made a small noise in my lap, but I quickly covered her mouth with my hand. The divorce. She was talking about me. She was calling me the situation. The woman's voice came again, and this time I recognized it. "Fiona, Damien's assistant. Fiona Clark. We met at the company picnic last year. She's red-haired, green-eyed, and always perfectly made up. I made her coffee, and she even gave me advice about my baby." "So what's your plan?" Fiona said. "I hear your wife has some money." Damien laughed coldly. It was a laugh I'd never heard from him before. "From Sienna? She doesn't understand anything about life. I told her we bought life insurance for Ivy and put all our savings into it. She believed everything. She has no money. That's exactly what I want." The sounds inside continued. The rustle of clothes, then sounds I realized. I hid behind the wall, holding Ivy to my chest. My daughter sensed my tension and quietly buried her head in my shoulder. Tears streamed silently down my cheeks. The $50 million ticket in my pocket suddenly felt like a weight. A few minutes ago, I had been so happy, so hopeful. Now there was only pain, betrayal. The man I thought of as a man who loved and cared for me was in his office with his assistant, describing me as a situation and planning a divorce. I bit my lips so hard I tasted blood. I tried to suppress the scream rising in my throat. Ivy was in my arms, looking at me with her wide, innocent eyes, her tiny hand trying to wipe away my tears. My heart was shattered. What should I do? Should I go in and cause a scene? No, a strange chill settled over me. What would I gain by going in now? I'd be the hysterical, cheating wife. Maybe I'd even lose Ivy. I took a deep breath. I needed to hear more. I needed to know their plans. I needed to know exactly what they were thinking. And then it hit me. Sometimes silence is the loudest cry. Fiona kept talking. "What about the financial records? The real figures from the company?" Damien reassured her. "Don't worry, honey. The accountant is reliable. The fake records are ready. I'll tell the court the company is in trouble. We're struggling with debt. Sienna doesn't know anything about finances. She'll panic, sign the divorce papers, and leave with nothing." The ground gave way beneath my feet. This wasn't a betrayal. This was a plan. A plan to ruin me. A plan to leave me penniless, helpless. And our own daughter. "As for Ivy," Damien said, "after we divorce, I'll file for custody. I'll say you can't support her. You don't have a job. I'll take her back. If I want you to, of course." That's when the final blow hit my heart. He was talking about his own daughter as if she were an object. My tears stopped. An icy coldness ran down my spine. The man inside wasn't my husband Damien anymore. He was a monster. I looked down at Ivy sleeping on my shoulder. "Baby, your mother was so pure. But don't worry. I won't let anyone take you from me." Silently, like a shadow, I turned and walked away. I must not be discovered. Receptionist Harper saw me leave. "Miss Mitchell, are you leaving? Didn't you see Mr. Bryant?" I forced a smile. Oh, I left my wallet at home. I'll be back tomorrow. Please don't tell Damien I'm here. I want to surprise him. Harper was surprised, but didn't ask any more questions. I left the building and called another Uber. As soon as I got into the back seat, tears welled up. I wept for my stupidity. I wept for my dead love. I wept for the cruelty of the man I thought I was. But also, the $50 million ticket in my pocket was now a weapon. My salvation and Ivy's, and my revenge. As the car drove away, I thought, Damien's plan was clear. Fake debts, fake financial records, scare me into signing the divorce papers. But I had $50 million. No one could know about that money, especially him. I had to come up with a plan. A careful, calculated, patient plan. And when the time came, I would make him pay for what he'd done. The house appeared on our small, familiar street. I pulled Ivy out of the car. My whole body was shaking. When I got home, I laid Ivy in her bed and covered her. I couldn't stop myself as I looked at her angelic face. I ran to the bathroom, locked the door, and turned on the faucet. I sat on the floor and cried. I cried like I'd never cried before in my life. Betrayal sometimes comes in a single word, but it echoes throughout my life. But when my tears dried, something else took their place. Anger. Cold, calculating, burning anger. Damien thought I loved him naively, a foolish, manipulative woman. But now that woman was dead. Now, there was a mother forced to protect her daughter, a betrayed woman preparing for her revenge. $50 million. How much was Damien's fake debt scheme? Maybe $30,000, $50,000. I smiled. A cold, determined smile. Really, Damien, you've chosen this path. Now we'll play. And I'll play you to the bitter end. That night, I began to devise a plan. Step 1. Claim the money securely. I couldn't do this myself. When we divorced, Damien would find out and demand half. I needed someone I could absolutely trust. My mother. Yes. Only my mother could keep this secret. Step 2. Continue the game. I had to play the role of the clueless, naive wife. I had to let Damien's plan work. I had to convince him I was still a stupid, easily manipulated little sheep. I had to gather evidence. Evidence of his betrayal, his forged records, his concealment of assets. Now the game had turned. There was something I knew and much he didn't, but the real story hadn't begun yet. Step 3. Revenge. Damien wanted to ruin me with a $50,000 fake loan. I'll send him to prison for his real crimes. I'll take everything he has, everything. I took out my phone and called my mother. Mom, I have to tell you something. It's very important. But this has to stay between us. No one can know. Not even my father. My mother said in a worried voice, Daughter, what happened? Are you okay? I took a deep breath. Mom, I won $50 million in the lottery, and my husband is cheating on me. Silence on the other end. Then my mother's shocked voice. What? Sienna, what are you saying? I told her everything, that I'd heard Damien in the office, the divorce plan, the fake debts, the $50 million, and most importantly that I needed him. Mom, you need this money. It needs to be claimed in your name. Damien can't find out. Can you do that? My mother was silent for a long time. Then, in a determined, strong voice, she said, Yes, my daughter, I will protect you and my grandson. Tell me what I must do. I knew at that moment, the war had begun, and I would win. My mother came to visit me 3 days later. She had told my father she was coming to see Ivy. Damien was at work, so we could talk freely. We sat at the kitchen table, and I put the lottery ticket into my mother's hand. Her hands were shaking. Sienna, is that really $50 million? She asked, her eyes filling with tears. Yes, Mom. It's true, but no one can know, especially Damien. This money will save my life and Ivy's. It should be claimed in your name, deposited into your account. It should remain secret until the divorce is final. Mom nodded, determined. I understand, daughter. Don't worry. This secret will go to the grave with me. I explained all the steps to him. First, he would call the Oregon office and make an appointment. He would bring his ID. He could request anonymity. The money would be collected by wire transfer. After deducting federal and state taxes, there would be approximately $29 million left. We had opened a new bank account for my mother at a small credit union that Damien would never suspect. Returning to the role of naive, stupid, easily manipulated Sienna, letting Damien's plan work, and gathering evidence. Damien came home as usual, tired and sullen. He didn't even look at his daughter. "Is dinner ready?" he asked. "Yes, honey," I said as softly as possible. "I made pasta. You know I'm trying to balance the budget." He looked at me, and for a moment I saw something in his eyes. Was it contempt? Pity? It didn't matter anymore. Weeks went by. I continued to play the role of the perfect wife. I made him breakfast every morning. I kept the house spotless. I never complained. Damien became increasingly distant, more distant. Some nights he wouldn't even come home. "Client meeting," he'd say. I'd nod, not asking any questions. But I was silently executing my plan. I checked Damien's laptop. His password was Ivy's birthday. How ironic. A man who uses his own daughter's birthday as his password, yet treats her like an object. I scanned his emails. There were text messages with Fiona. Romantic messages. "I hate Sienna. Even her face makes me sick." Every word I read stabbed me in the heart. But I didn't change my expression. I took screenshots. I uploaded each one to an encrypted cloud drive. The evidence was piling up, but I found the real treasure elsewhere: Damien's office computer. One day, Damien called me to the office. "Sienna, come to the office tomorrow. I need help with some work. Simple things like archiving files, making coffee. I won't pay, but it would be nice to see a wife making sacrifices for her family." Even as he said this, he was smiling condescendingly. "Sure, honey," I said. "Anything you want. I'd do anything to help you." I smiled inwardly. He wasn't stupid. This was my opportunity. A chance to get into the office. Access to the computers, the files, the financial records. It was exactly what I wanted. The next day, I wore my oldest clothes. No makeup. My hair was in a bun. The humble, hapless housewife look. Harper was surprised when I walked into the office. "Miss Mitchell, are you going to work here?" I forced a smile. "Yes. I'll help Damien. The company is in trouble, and I want to do what I can." Damien introduced me in front of everyone. "Friends, this is my wife, Sienna. Our company is having financial difficulties, and she's offered to help me out with a few small tasks." All eyes turned to me. Pity, shame, contempt. Fiona stood in the back row, staring at me with a triumphant smile in her elegant red dress. My first day was a literal insult. I made coffee, made photocopies, emptied the trash. Damien and Fiona even insulted me in front of the staff. "Sienna, this coffee is cold. Make it again. Sienna, these files are in the wrong order. Correct them." I bowed my head and obeyed, but my eyes saw everything. The accounting department was in the corner. It employed 3 people: a young intern, a middle-aged accountant, and most importantly, Gregory Fuller, the chief accountant. A serious-faced, quiet man in his 50s. He was what Damien called the reliable, the one who prepared the false records. But as I observed Gregory, I realized he wasn't happy. Damien and Fiona were treating him badly too. Fiona came into the accounting department one day, her heels tapping on the floor. "Gregory, why isn't this report ready yet?" "Damien's waiting." Gregory gritted his teeth. "I'll let you know when it's ready." Therein lay the opportunity. Gregory wasn't Damien's loyal employee. He worked only for the money and hated both his boss and his mistress. He pitied me too. I could see it. I could see it in his eyes. I usually stayed at the office during my lunch breaks. I'd eat a cheap sandwich I'd brought from home. Gregory usually stayed too. One day I approached him. "Mr. Fuller, I brought you some homemade cookies. I hope you like them." Gregory was surprised but accepted. "Thank you, Miss Mitchell. That's very kind of you." Over time, things started to warm up a bit. I started asking him questions. "Mr. Fuller, is the company really in bad shape? Damien seems very stressed." Gregory shot me a pointed look. "Miss Mitchell, things are complicated. Sometimes appearances aren't always the same." His heart had softened. I could feel it, but I couldn't ask him direct questions. It would have been too risky. I had to be patient, and patience paid off. One afternoon, while everyone else was out to dinner, Gregory and I were the only ones in the office. I froze, staring at his computer. A file was open on the screen, but it wasn't a loss report. It was a different file called True Books, real revenues, real contracts, real profits. My eyes widened. This was it. The treasury, Damien's real financial records. The company wasn't losing money. On the contrary, it was making a net profit of $1.5 million a year. Gregory looked up and saw me. For a moment, fear crossed his eyes. Then, weary acceptance. You see? He said quietly. I nodded. Mr. Fuller, please. Help me. My husband is trying to ruin me. He's going to threaten me with fake debts so I'll sign divorce papers. He'll take my daughter away from me. Please. Gregory looked at me for a long moment. Then he sighed deeply. Miss Mitchell, I'm an accountant. I respect ethics, but I see your situation. And what Mr. Bryant did was wrong. Very wrong. He pulled a USB drive from his drawer. This is empty. If I have to go to the bathroom right now and you're alone in front of the computer, I won't have seen anything. My heart started pounding wildly. Mr. Fuller, I'm leaving, she said, standing. I'll be back in 5 minutes. And this conversation never happened. He was gone. Hands trembling, I picked up the USB drive. I plugged it into my computer. I copied the True Books file. I also scanned other folders, bank statements, tax returns both real and fake, company asset transfers. I copied everything. When the progress bar reached 100%, I removed the USB drive and placed it in the secret compartment in my pocket. Gregory turned just in time. He looked into my eyes and said nothing. He simply nodded. Miss Mitchell, you don't have to come here starting tomorrow. I'll tell Mr. Bryant that. I want to protect you from any further humiliation. Thank you, I said, my eyes filling with tears. I am eternally grateful. Don't thank me, he said quietly. Just use this evidence wisely, and never name me. I nodded. Gregory was an angel, the angel of a betrayed woman. When I got home that night, after Ivy was asleep, I turned on my laptop. I plugged in the USB drive. I reviewed every file. It was a complete catalog of Damien's crimes, tax evasion, asset concealment, false financial reports. Enough evidence. Enough to destroy him in both the divorce case and the criminal investigation. I smiled. A cold, determined smile. The weapons were loaded. Now it was timing. I should have waited for Damien to make the first move. I should have waited for him to serve me the divorce papers. I should have played the game to the end. 2 weeks later, Damien came home. He had a strange expression on his face. Determination or relief? Sienna, I need to talk to you. Sit down. My heart raced, but I kept my face a worried, scared expression. Yes, honey? What happened? He took a deep breath. Sienna, we can't go on anymore. Our marriage is over. I want a divorce. I played my part perfectly. I jumped to my feet, covering my mouth with my hands. What? Damien, what are you saying? Why? He brushed my hand away. Because I don't love you anymore. I'm not happy in this marriage anymore. And to be honest, there's someone else. Someone else? I groaned, tears streaming down my cheeks. Who? How? Fiona, he said coldly. Yes, my assistant Fiona. I love her, and she's pregnant with my child. My world spun. It wasn't an act. I was truly shocked. Fiona was pregnant with his child. How deep they had gone. But Ivy, I said, shaking. Our daughter? What will happen to your family? Damien shrugged. Ivy is staying with you. I won't pay alimony. The company is bankrupt. We're in debt. Actually, he tossed a stack of papers onto the table. I want you to sign it. A divorce agreement. No joint property. No joint debts. You're giving up everything. At the papers, just as he planned. He was leaving me with nothing. There was even a clause. The parties agree that the $45,000 company debt in dispute is not joint liability. He was even threatening me with debt. I fell to the ground, sobbing. Damien, please, don't do this. I love you. I love Ivy. Give us another chance. He looked at me with disgust. No, it's over. Sign these papers. Trembling, I picked up the pen. Every letter, every signature was a step toward his end. Sienna Mitchell, I wrote. Damien, he grabbed the papers, scanned them quickly, and smiled with satisfaction. Great. I'll meet you in court tomorrow morning. And you and Ivy will be evicted from this house. The bank will foreclose on it. Lie. The mortgage was paid. But I just cried and pleaded. He walked out the door. He never came back. When the door closed, I stopped crying. I wiped my tears away. A cold smile graced my lips. Thank you, Damien. You gave me everything. The signed divorce agreement. You signed it yourself. Now it's my turn. I turned on my laptop. I plugged in Gregory's USB drive. I had all the files transferred to a lawyer, a tax investigator, and the IRS internal. I've prepared it for submission to the Revenue Service. But not yet. First the court. First the divorce. Then revenge. Damien sat confidently in the courtroom. Fiona stood beside him, her pregnant belly swollen, a triumphant smile on her face. I sat there in my old clothes, tears streaming down my face. The judge reviewed the case file. This is a mutually agreed upon divorce. The parties agreed to give up everything. Is that true? Damien said firmly. Yes, I whispered back, bowing my head. The judge banged the gavel. Then the divorce is granted. You are no longer legally married. Damien stood, took Fiona's hand, and they walked out. I sat down. I smiled. The game was over. Now reality was beginning. I didn't go straight home after leaving court. I'd left Ivy at my mother's. I went to the most prestigious law firm in the city, Castellano and Partners. The receptionist looked me up and down. In my worn clothes and dejected demeanor, I didn't look very impressive. Do you have an appointment? No, I said calmly, but I need an urgent meeting with senior partner Mr. Castellano. Tell him I have a $50 million lawsuit. The receptionist looked skeptical but answered the phone. 5 minutes later, I was ushered into the corner office. Marco Castellano was a prominent lawyer in his 60s with graying hair and sharp eyes. Miss Mitchell, he said, motioning to sit down. Are you talking about a $50 million lawsuit? I put the USB drive on her desk. Yes, and besides, I do have $50 million. I won the lottery. My ex-husband doesn't know about it. We got divorced today. He thinks he left me with nothing, but I will make him pay for what he did. Castellano raised his eyebrows. Interesting. Go ahead. I told him everything. Damien's betrayal, Fiona. The falsified financial records. The evidence Gregory had given me. Castellano's eyes brightened with every word. He inserted the USB drive and scanned the files. After a while, he leaned back. Miss Mitchell, this is an extraordinary case. You have overwhelming evidence. Tax evasion, concealment, fraud. Your ex-husband could face serious criminal charges. And the divorce agreement. If it was signed through deception or fraud, the court could void it. I leaned forward. I don't just want the money. I want to make him suffer. I want him to pay for what he did to me and my daughter. Castellano smiled, a professional but understanding smile. So, Miss Mitchell, let me tell you this. This isn't just a divorce case. This is a war, and we will win. The first step was swift. Castellano filed an emergency petition to annul the divorce settlement. The grounds: fraudulent declaration, concealment of assets, signature by deception. An anonymous tip was also sent to the IRS, all tax records on Gregory's USB drive. The second step was even more powerful. I hired a private investigator to follow Damien and Fiona to document their every date, their dinner at every fancy restaurant, the villa they rented outside Portland. How could a bankrupt man live so lavishly? The contradictions began to pile up. The third step was the smartest. I invested $2 million of the $29 million in my mother's account in a consulting firm that would help Damien grow his biggest competitors. We launched an aggressive campaign to steal Damien's customers, better prices, better service, better technology. Damien's company was losing clients rapidly. He couldn't understand it. How could it be? Barrett was more powerful than ever. Where had they gotten so much money? Little did he know, I was the one providing it. His own ex-wife. The woman he thought was ordinary stupid. In the fourth week, Damien received his first blow. The IRS came knocking on his door. A tax evasion investigation. All his financial records were seized. His office was sealed. His employees took to the streets. Damien was in shock. How could this happen? He shouted at the agents, who reported him. He received no answer. On the fifth week, the subpoena arrived. The divorce settlement hearing. Damien arrived in court with his lawyer, red with rage. When he saw me, he screamed, "Sienna, you did this. You betrayed me." I looked at him calmly. Betrayal, Damien? Who are you talking about? The trial began. Castellano presented the evidence. The actual financial records on Gregory's USB drive. Documents showing the company was profitable. The text messages with Fiona. The audio recording I made in the office that day. That peasant will leave with nothing. With a $50,000 debt, the courtroom fell silent. Judge, he turned to Damien. Mr. Bryant, what is your defense to these allegations? Damien stammered. This evidence was obtained illegally. No secret recording. Castellano smiled coldly. Under Oregon state law, unilateral recording is legal, sir. My client has the right to document his own home, his own life. The judge banged the gavel. The divorce agreement was obtained through fraud and deception. It is set aside. The property division case will be retried. Additionally, Mr. Bryant, due to the tax evasion investigation, a restraining order has been placed on all your assets. Damien jumped up. No, that's impossible. From that moment on, there was no turning back. But the game had only just begun. In week 6, Fiona did something that surprised everyone. She left Damien. Even though she was pregnant, she abandoned the sinking ship. She left him a letter. Damien, you're a loser. I hang out with winners. You won't be the baby's father. I'm having an abortion. Damien was devastated. In the 7th week, a rival firm made a buyout offer for Damien's company, but at a ridiculously low price. The company Damien had built over the years would be swallowed up by his rival, who had grown with my financing. Damien refused. I'll never sell. But he had no choice. Debts, lawsuits, customer losses. Bankruptcy was inevitable. Damien on charges of concealing assets and fraud. He was handcuffed and led away from his office. The footage was all over the local news. Successful businessman, caught cheating on his wife. Damien's reputation was completely ruined. All that remained was silence and a burning remorse. That night, Mom and I sat in our luxurious new apartment. Ivy was happily playing with her new toys. She looked at me and asked, Mommy, why are you smiling? Because, baby, Mommy is finally happy. Mom poured me some wine. Girl, you deserve this. That monster is paying for what he did to you. On the 9th week, Damien's lawyer begged me to call. Miss Mitchell, please. My client is remorseful. Ask for forgiveness. Let's make a deal. No, I said coldly. No forgiveness. No deal. He's given me nothing, and I'm not giving him anything. Only justice. In the 10th week, the court made its final decision. In the property division case, the judge examined all of Damien's assets. The company, the house, the cars, the bank accounts, all had been concealed in their value, understated by fraudulent misrepresentations. This case is one of the most extreme cases of deception and fraud in matrimonial law, the judge said. Sometimes life saves us when we lose. Miss Mitchell is ordered to receive 70% of Mr. Bryant's assets. She will also receive a monthly alimony of $5,000 for their daughter, Ivy. Mr. Bryant's tax evasion charges will be heard in a separate criminal case. Damien collapsed in the courtroom. He had lost everything. In the 11th week, Damien wrote to me from prison. He had been sentenced to 8 years for tax evasion and fraud. The letter said, Sienna, I underestimated you. You destroyed me, but maybe I deserved it. Tell Ivy her daddy misses her. I tore up the letter. I threw it in the trash. By week 12, my new life had begun. With my shares in the rival company, I was now a passive investor. Of the $27 million in my mother's account, $2 million had gone into investments. I put $10 million into safe investment funds. I set aside $5 million for Ivy's college fund. I decided to spend the remaining $12 million on various investments and charitable causes. I founded a foundation for betrayed women. It helped women like me, those betrayed, manipulated, and abandoned by their husbands. It offered legal support, financial counseling, and psychological therapy. The foundation's logo was a phoenix, symbolizing a woman rising from the ashes. Today, 2 years later, Ivy is 5 years old. She's a happy, healthy, bright child. She attends Portland's finest private school. Her mother knows she's a strong woman. When she asks about her father, I say, your father is far away, but he loves you. One day, she'll know the truth, but not now. I haven't remarried. Maybe one day. Maybe never, but I'm not alone. I have my mom and dad with me. My foundation is my passion. And Ivy, she's everything to me. Money doesn't buy happiness, true. But money buys freedom. It buys security. And most importantly, it buys justice. Damien is still in prison. Sometimes people ask me if I feel sorry for him. No, not at all. He chose his own fate. He saw me, my daughter, as an object. He used us. He manipulated us. And he's paying the price. I simply showed him the truth. The people you underestimate can be your most dangerous enemies. One Sunday afternoon, Ivy and I are sitting at the park. She's swinging on the swing, laughing. The sun is shining. Portland's rain is gone today. My phone rings. It's from the foundation. Miss Mitchell, we have a new case. A betrayed mother, 2 children. Her husband left her with nothing. Can you help? Yes, I say. Of course. I'll be right back at the office. I hang up. I look at Ivy. She smiles at me. Mommy, are you happy? She says, yes, baby. I say, because you exist. And because your mommy is a strong woman. And strong women never give up. Winning $50 million in the lottery changed my life. But it wasn't the money that changed me. It was experiencing the pain of betrayal, rising up, and turning that pain into strength. I'm Sienna Mitchell, a former housewife, now a survivor, a warrior, and a woman who has taken revenge. And if there are other women listening to my story, I want to tell them this. No matter who underestimates you, no matter who tries to manipulate you, remember, your inner strength is greater than your money, your looks, or your status. Don't give up. Fight. And win. Because I won. And you can win too. If it were you, what would you do? Write it in the comments. I'd love to hear it. See you in the next story. And remember, everyone has a secret. Thank you for listening. Maybe one day I will tell your story.